Welcome to Calm Your Crazy. I am Kiana Lambert. Tonight we are going to talk about the stages of awakening. The reason I am talking about this is because I'm answering a lot of the same questions. People are having different things that they're experiencing and they don't know what it means, and they need some help navigating. So all of what I'm going to talk about has been my experience and then what I've observed in other people that I'm working with as far as their awakening. And then in answering loads of questions, God, hundreds of questions concerning awakening and listening to people, I've come across a pattern and it coincides with mine. So I've made a brief stage list of stages of awakening, and I'm going to go through them and kind of go into more depth for each one. And hopefully that kind of helps guide you in some of what you are experiencing. Now, this is not linear, okay? In the beginning, it's pretty linear. This is a pattern that I'm seeing. But if you've already been through these stages and you haven't been aware of them, then you may have already gone through some of these and you're coming around again. Because in these stages, what I've noticed is that you go through them over and over and over again as you come back to self. And it's like you keep coming back to self and you keep going through the stages, and each stage, as you go through it again and again, gives you a new perspective and a new level of awareness, and it evolves your consciousness even more. So, excuse me if I sound tired. I did not get very much sleep last night. I was doing a lot of pattern mapping and consciousness work, and I came to another level of completion, and it was very, very soul moving, and I stayed up quite late dealing with that. Not that it was dealing with that, but basically I realized that consciousness is just wanting the experience, the journey. And I spent a lot of time looking for the reason, the meaning, and I was looking for an ending. And last night I realized that there is no ending, that it's all about the journey. And, you know, they say that in the songs, and I knew that cognitively, but I didn't feel it, and I never understood what it actually meant at this level. And it was really hard, because when you're always searching for something and you're searching for the end and you're searching for the meaning of everything, when you finally come to the end point and you understand it all, it's an ending, and it's very, not sad, but sad in the way that you'll never be there again. And there's actually no new beginning after this ending of completion. You basically realize that your consciousness, your everything, and you come back to your 0 point self, and then you understand it was never about finding anything else. It was never about validation. It was never about any of those things. It was simply about the journey. And it sounds really simple, like when I say it out loud, but basically I've been through every universe in my mind, you know. It's very visual. I see it, I feel it. It's very visual. You're always the observer, creating everything. And I was searching for the origin of the universe and the origin point, because if I'm observing everything, then I'm creating it all the time, no matter what. And after my near-death experience, I can see things in my mind's eye. I remember things. I know how it works. I feel it all. And so I was searching for the origin point and for meaning. And after a couple of years of searching, more like 5 years of searching, I realized that the point was never the origin, that I always knew that I was source, consciousness. And the whole point is always the journey. so that I have come to another level of completion. I desire for nothing but to be in the moment where I am with what I have and to create from that space. So it's been pretty deep, pretty heavy. And I start over again on the spiral of learning, right? But at least I'm not searching anymore. So the first stage of awakening is you start seeing number patterns. And I did not see number patterns until after my near-death experience. Prior to that, I didn't ever notice. My nervous system was way too tight from trauma and everything else that I'd never had the awareness to see the patterns. And that's why the first step in awakening is seeing the number patterns, because everything is made out of a collection of patterns, and you recreate your life from patterns. So that is the first stage, as you start to notice it. I've come across several children who notice them, and there is history of brain trauma, whether physical or emotional, and children are sometimes able to see them quite early on and all the way into adulthood. So it's still the preliminary stage because children are still learning and still their data is still being written out of their control and out of their choice, and they don't have any experience yet. So the only thing that they can experience at that stage is the level 1 of seeing the number patterns. And the number patterns are random or specific depending on the association the person has with them prior to seeing them. So if you're already very spiritual, what I've noticed is that you know about angel numbers cognitively, but you don't actually see them all the time. You may see them once in a while because your brain's actually looking for them, but they don't come up randomly. It's something that you're telling your brain to look for. So once you have your awakening, though, you're going to see them all the time in different number combinations. Usually the first one that is seen is the master number 11. So you'll see combinations of 1111. 2222 is also the master number because it's just a doubling of 11. And this is numerology. So you would have to go into numerology and see what resonates for you as far as that goes. I love math, so that's the only reason I like number patterns. I don't really know about the numerology stuff. Whenever I looked into it and read all the angel numbers, it was pretty apparent that it was just all positive fluff. So if you resonate with angel numbers or whatever, I don't mean to be obtuse about this or inflammatory. It was all the same. So I felt like there was no difference in the number patterns. For me, at that point, when I saw that there was no difference, I just started assigning meaning to the ones that I had. So 8 is like my infinity symbol because it's a torus field that's vertical. 1111 is a master number. I love 1111 because when you do reduce 1111, it reduces to 1, and there's only you creating reality. So those are going to be your preliminary numbers. And stage 2. In stage 2, you're going to start seeing yourself and everybody else. You're going to start seeing people's patterns as your patterns. So you're going to meet people and you have a lot in common with them. You both come from a history of maybe sexual assault. You both have mother wounds. You both behave the same way, and you both do a lot of the same things, except you are different in some ways. So you're going to start seeing this in everybody you meet. There's going to be some form of resonation that you have with them. Even like, it doesn't mean you're making friends. It doesn't mean that you're communicating even. You're just going to be overhearing things, or maybe you are communicating and you are interacting with people and observing them, and then you're seeing the patterns in them, and it's because you have them in common. And what's happening is you're both sharing the same resonant frequency bandwidth. You're at one resonant frequency, they're at another one. They're vibrating slightly off, right? Slightly different. Think of it as like a radio station. When you tune into it, it's 99.7. You're going to hear the music. If you turn it to 99.8, you're going to hear another radio station, but they're only one microdigit off. So that's why you start resonating with people that you're around, because they are on your frequency. This is the way that reality is you telling you that you are consciousness, that you are everything and everyone. You are having a perspective, point of perspective in you, but everyone else is you too. And that's why you are seeing so much in common, so much resonance with each person. That happens for a while. And you know what? These stages don't have a time limit. So you can be in one stage for however long. It's honestly up to you. As you go through each stage, when you learn what you need to learn from that stage, a new level unlocks and you go into the next level. It's frequency and dimension. Your brain is a receiver of consciousness. So when you learn what you need to learn from observing yourself and everyone else, which is knowing that you are consciousness, that you are everyone else, and you're having that point in your consciousness and experience. So that is stage 2. Stage 3. Things feel really strange. Things start to feel really strange. You're still feeling strange when you're seeing yourself and everybody else, right? But things start to get even more strange. Things just don't seem real anymore. You start to feel numb. You're out and about, people just doing their own thing. They don't seem to be realizing what you're feeling and what you're doing. And things are really kind of confusing and not making a whole lot of sense. And you want to isolate. Literally, you want to just go home and stay away from everybody. And that is precisely what you are supposed to do. What is happening right now in this stage is you are detaching from yourself. You are splitting. Just like a cell splits, this is what's happening to you right now. You got some new information, you pass the level, you go into another stage, and this stage is the creation of your observer. You are actually coming into awareness, moving into your observer state. And in order for this to happen, you have to detach from the current reality. So that's why you are seeing it this way. This is a stage where people tend to go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because they do not understand what is happening. So this is very important. If this is happening to you, breathe. Everything is okay. You are with yourself. You are having an experience, and everything's okay. Try to breathe, relax. In this stage, you're not going to have a whole lot of interest in things. And that is okay because you are detaching. So you really can't have an interest in the reality that you're in when you're detaching from it. So in this stage, this is where you start to build your cocoon, okay? Your cocoon is your way of starting to sort out what is happening to you. So you start isolating. At this stage, some people start trying to talk to people and seeing if they can get themselves validated. And this may be where people call you crazy or want to put you away or whatever. So it's important at this stage that you just relax and breathe. If you start feeling intrusive thoughts and you feel like harming yourself, then absolutely get some help as you feel safe enough to do so. Okay? So you don't ever want to be in a position of harm. This is not what that stage is. If you start experiencing that, you are not in this stage. You've gone to the opposite end, and you're going to have to come back with some breathing regulation, self-validation, and whatever you feel like is going to work best for your help. I'm not telling you what to do because every person is an individual. So what feels best for them is going to vary. So when you are in this stage, you are in isolation, and then you slowly start to come out of it because your observer state has completed. You are detached, and you are both now in the experience and watching yourself, which leads you to stage number 4. In stage number 4, you are the observer. You are observing yourself, you're observing your thoughts, you're observing your self-sabotage, you're observing all the things that happened in your life, and you're seeing how they're connected. And then as you take action throughout the day and you're going to your job or you're interacting with people, you are seeing yourself. You are seeing your patterns, you're seeing them, you're seeing all these things around you in a pattern. And you start to see where you went wrong in your life, how things happened and why they happened. And then you start to take action to correct it, to stop choosing the same patterns, because you no longer want the life that you had. And you see how you got there. You see how your past brought you here. And now, in this stage, you may not know it, but you have just become aware. And when you become aware of your patterns, that means you have a choice. And in that choice, that's when you change the pattern and you choose a new reality every time you make a new choice. So you start to experiment. You start to choose differently. Stop reacting. Choose from a place of wisdom, of love, of who you want to be. And the more that you start doing this, the more that you move into stage number 5. And because you are doing this work, in stage 5, you're going to see more synchronicities. Because your electromagnetic field is expanding. You are calm, you are aware, and you are seeing more possibilities. This is the halfway point. This is the point where you really start seeing an uptake in all the reflections of how you are creating reality. This is an exciting point for you. You're going to start wanting things, seeing things that you need, and then it'll show up for you. You'll go shopping, everything will be in your size. When you go to the grocery store, everything's going to be on sale. Things just flow to you. It's natural, it's abundant, and you're in this wonderful stage. This one is a really fun stage. So you start feeling really alive in this stage because you're getting all this energy. It's new, it's exciting. So that's when you start feeling that creative energy again. That's when you start feeling happiness and you start saying, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. So then you decide, and that's your purpose. That's stage 6. You decide what you're going to do and you start taking action towards it. That moves you into stage 7. Because you decided to move into a different reality and to do different things, everything that's not meant for you has to come away. You cannot build a new reality from the old version of you. And when you started taking action and you decided your purpose, you became a new version of you. And you started walking towards that version because you made a choice. And that means reality starts to fold around you to bring you what you want. So you went from stage 5 feeling really, really good to taking action to stage 7. You start to lose everything not meant for the reality that you're moving to because you're a new person. You start experiencing old frequency, old wounds, old people falling away. And this is when people quit. Most people quit at this stage because they can't do the nervous system work that is required at this stage. Because when you get triggered, it's your nervous system that gets triggered. And then you have to feel, you have to process, and then you have to move those feelings through by feeling them. So that becomes a challenge when you continue to take action. You're being triggered daily. with all the old wounds and the relationships and the people and the things that are not meant for you that need to come away. It can be really painful, and that's why people quit. But if you stick with it, if you keep telling yourself you are on a journey towards something better and everything that's not meant for you is supposed to come away, then you will move into stage 8. You've passed the storm, you are out on the other side, and in stage 8, you enter flow really easily. You feel with your body because you went through all of stage 7, going through your wounds and your triggers, and you're still taking action and you're still experiencing them, but it moves quicker through you now. The pain doesn't last as long. The raging thoughts aren't there anymore. Rumination has slowed down. You're taking care of your nervous system. You know that your nervous system is everything, and you're trusting yourself. So your body is alive with frequency and energy, and you can feel. You're going to feel more instincts. You're going to trust them. You're going to move, and that's what creates flow. Because you know what's happening, and you feel it, and you trust it. You're moving with your body. You're feeling your body because you create reality with your body. And that is stage 8. After doing this for a while, you might go back and forth between things getting lost because you're moving, right? You're moving on up. In stage 8, you start to accept everything, and that moves you into stage 9. And when I say you start to accept everything, it means that you've accepted that you've been through what you've been through. You've processed the pain. You know that there might be other things coming up, but at this stage, your nervous system is acclimated. You've metabolized it. You know you can handle it. So you start to expand because you are no longer afraid. When you are no longer afraid, your nervous system doesn't tighten up. It doesn't suck in all the energy to create resistance. It relaxes. Energy is loosened, expansive, and you expand in all directions. You experience self-love. You experience coming back to yourself. You experience connection with everything. And the abundance, anything you want, whenever you want, comes. This leads you to stage 10. When you were in stage 9 for a while, you moved to stage 10, and that is oneness. You're creating reality. You feel whole within you and the connection with your consciousness, which is you. It's the Holy Trinity, and you have arrived. This is Christ consciousness. Completion. And then you begin again. You may revisit any one of these stages. Most of the time it's stage 7, where you're dealing with triggers or wounds. You might go back to stage 6, where you decide to take more action and a different direction and purpose. You're always going to experience stage 5. Opportunities, things when you need it. You'll notice that whenever you are contracted, when you're doing healing work, or if you're being triggered, you're going to move out of stage 5. So the synchronicities will stop. Depending on how far you spiral, the numbers will also decrease and stop altogether because your nervous system is so contracted. So as soon as you relax again, everything will return. The number patterns decrease over time because you no longer need them to confirm your pattern recognition. You no longer need them to reaffirm to you that you're in a simulation. The only time that you will need them is when they show up for you. And you'll know, okay, I'm in that frequency. I'm in stage 1 again. I'm in stage 2. I find that you're never really going to go back to stage 4, where you're observing patterns while you're experiencing them as the observer as much, because you start to integrate yourself So you become more of the person experiencing it with the knowing that you're consciousness, and you no longer need to be separate from yourself as the observer. The observer state is meant to show you things. So when you step into that observer state, it's because you need to see things that you're not seeing clearly in your body. And you can go back and forth at will. You can choose to go into your observer state, and you can choose to be present. So you will go through these stages at any point in time, but this is the preliminary first stage. You will hit completion over and over again. And if you're anything like me and you feel a lot of energy and you're very sensitive, you're going to go through a lot of euphoria, awe, and wonder, pain. You're going to experience the entire spectrum of emotion. And the whole point of all this is to embrace being human and to live it with your consciousness. So I hope that helps you. If you are on this journey, congratulations. There are so many more things that go into it, especially when you're in the abundance stage and you're learning how to manifest and how you want things. There's so much that goes into it. And I could go into the body, I can go into all of it in depth, and I do with my community that I teach of women. And I will probably go ahead and make a course that includes this so that it can be more helpful, and leave it for free on my website, because this is very important for people, especially those who struggle with feeling crazy and not knowing what's happening to them. If you start thinking you're crazy, you're going to go down this rabbit hole. And the only reason that I was able to heal was because I had support of my family, my immediate family. They gave me the space for my nervous system. I'm not going to say that it's easy. I have a high IQ, a pervasive memory, a lot of education, and I chew on quantum physics for lunch. I watch documentaries instead of movies. Education is like my jam, and I retain all of it, and I form connections and patterns because I'm a polymath. So I was also in the medical field for 15 years, working with mental health patients, ER patients. I worked emergency services, and my family is really traumatic and has generational trauma. So I have 2 cousins with schizophrenia and helped take care of one of them. So I knew what was happening to me whenever I was having the awakening and I was going through it. I was having a lot of connections and everything else. I didn't believe in spiritual stuff as much, so I relied heavily on psychiatry and psychology, and was seeing therapists and seeing my psychiatrist. And I'd been on Effexor for 13 years, and it was no longer working because I was having an awakening, like nothing was working anymore. And it was purposeful. But because I was like, no, I need to figure this out. I'm going to go through every single thing and figure out every single thing and figure out what's happening to me, like on a medical level, on a science level, on a psychiatry level, on all of it. And that happened later, of course, but back to it. It wasn't working, and I was prescribed Wellbutrin to help, and they stacked it on top of my Effexor, and it messed with my brain chemistry. So it made things even worse, very jumbled. But because I was in my observer stage, and I'd already detached from my reality, I was both experiencing it and watching myself experiencing it. And because my observer state still retained all my medical information, it's still me, I knew what was happening. And those medications are actually contraindicated. And that's when I was like, listen, I was like, okay, we're done here. I know what's happening. I'm the observer. I'm consciousness, and I don't care what happens to me. I've already died. I'm not going to die again. So I stopped it cold turkey. Everything, all of it. All my medication cold turkey. And it was super painful. It was really hard. But I came out of the other side of it, or I'm out of it now, and I know that I went through all of it so that I could continue to do this to help other people. Because the more that people are experiencing trauma, the more that they're going to awaken and they're going to need a blueprint. So this is why I do what I do. I aim to change the world, and I have the rest of my life to do it. So that was a shorter episode, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you next week.